People, welcome to the Dr. Joy Show, your prescription for total wellness, and I'm your host, Dr. Joy. We're going to talk about having the talk, elder care. Yeah, not me, I have experts. But before we get started, you know what we do on the Dr. Joy Show? We take it down with 3 deep breaths. Are you ready? Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Last one. Inhale. Exhale. How do you feel? I know I feel great. Let's just get right to it. We're going to have the talk with my guests, Lori and Yael Hauptman. And they are founders, yes, they're married, founders of Hauptman and Hauptman PC, right?
Correct.
You're lawyers. Okay, so tell me a little bit about yourselves.
Lori, you want to start?
My name is Lori Hauptman, and I have been practicing law for 30 years. I'm going to date myself a little bit.
That's a long time.
That's a long time, yeah. I practice in both, I'm licensed in both New York and New Jersey. Mm-hmm. And currently I specialize in estate, elder, and special needs law planning. And we sort of came to that. I came to it about 20 years ago. I initially started out as a litigator, litigation attorney, doing insurance defense litigation, and then joined my husband's practice when he went into this area of law, elder law.
Okay, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having us.
Sure. Yael? Yael like the school.
Like the school, yes.
Okay.
So I've been doing this for since 1995, so about almost 25 years.
Yeah.
And I recognized at the time in the mid-90s that the population was aging, and I wanted to do something that wanted to help people, but I also wanted to do something that was kind of going to be a growing area in terms of the business side of things, and that's where I found elder law really. And as the population has aged, I think we were a little bit on the forefront of it, and now we're really in the midst of it.
Yeah.
Because we've got 77 million baby boomers, of which Laura and I are the youngest baby boomers.
Now describe baby
boomers. We're the last year.
Yeah, describe baby boomers for the viewers.
So baby boomers would be born 1946 to 1964, between those age ranges.
I want to.
Right. And we're the last year of that.
Are you the last year?
We're the last year of the baby
64.
boomers.
Oh, I'm 62.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now there you go.
So we're near each other.
We're in it.
We are totally in it.
And
okay.
when I started and when Lori joined me in 98, it was really about working with the parents of the baby boomers, and now we're starting to see the leading edge boomers who are now, if my math is correct, they're in their 70s now.
Wow. Okay.
And so we're starting to do the planning and the dealing with the same long-term care issues now for them.
Well, we started out, we were initially much younger than our clients' children, and now we are the age of our clients' children, and we have parents that are in their 80s. So it's just over time we've kind of grown into the practice both personally and professionally.
So for the viewers, definition of elder law.
So
Just a level set.
Yeah,
what's that? Yeah.
Just a level set.
Yeah.
So I would say definition of elder law is really focusing on issues that affect seniors. Now that's a broad definition.
65 and older, seniors at 50, because you get the AARP card at 49.
Yeah.
So define senior.
Senior, is a broad range, but I would say probably in your 60s.
Okay.
Okay. And then we also do disability planning as well, which is similar to elder planning because the severely disabled have similar issues, healthcare-wise and planning-wise.
So even though we're called elder care attorneys, we could have a 40-year-old that had an unexpected stroke and need long-term care, and so their needs are similar to someone that may be in their 80s. So it's a little bit of a, the title of elder care attorneys. We're really long-term care planning and protection, asset protection attorneys, regardless of sometimes the age.
Wow. Okay. So I have questions and I'm going to read them. As elder law attorneys, what do you see happening in this field now?
So really what we're seeing is more and more folks. We're all living longer, not necessarily healthy the entire time. And so more and more folks are really grappling with how does one pay for the cost of long-term care?
Yeah.
And in our area, that cost on average, if we're talking about 24/7 round-the-clock care, on average it's about $150,000 a year.
Woo!
11 to 13,000 for a nursing home a month.
Yeah.
Right, and that's a middle of the road nursing home, or is that super luxury nursing home?
No, that's probably it's about an average nursing home. Yeah.
No, and actually, and that's a healthy nursing home resident. Meaning, if you need a ventilator or have a higher level of care, we have clients right now that are on a ventilator, and it's $30,000 a month.
Yeah, Dr. Joy, we have a client right now who is on a ventilator and is paying $60,000 a month.
Okay.
So it's just astronomical
Now,
figures.
that's rare.
Okay, so Lori, what happens if you don't have the money?
Well, we'll tell you.
What happens?
Well, you spend it down and you can qualify for government needs-based benefits.
Okay, gotcha.
But the idea is that people want to know that they have enough money. And if you have a married couple, you get concerned that one spouse gets sick before the other.
Right.
And we're always concerned about one spouse impoverishing the other spouse. So it's balancing and having a plan in place in case you have a long-term care expense like this.
Okay, so who are your clients? Your clients is it people like us, or is it who?
So the clients are the seniors,
Okay.
the seniors of the disabled individual. However, what we're doing is we're working with those families.
Okay, gotcha.
So oftentimes it is the families, in the case of a lot of times it's children who know that mom and or dad needs care. They don't know how to address it. As I always say, the kids will have a conversation with dad and say, Dad, you know what, we really need to get somebody in, or maybe I should start thinking about moving to a facility.
Okay.
And Dad's not going to be excited about it.
Right.
He's not going to jump out of his chair and say, yeah, I'm ready.
Sign me up.
Sign me up.
Exactly.
And so the families often don't know how to have that conversation.
Like you said,
to
have the
start
talk.
talk.
So how do you have it? Because, and I'm gonna put it out there. I have a very close friend who I've known since a long time, 1980. Okay, and she is caring for her mother. All right, 365, 8 days a week. Okay, she also works outside of the home. All right, so her free time is limited. And I've asked her.
So is her mom at home with her?
Her mom is at home with her. So she has no break. And so what advice could you give my girlfriend?
Well, one of the options would be to bring in possibly some help. So there are agencies, home health agencies, that can bring in somebody to help to relieve some of the hours. Sometimes there also is an option that if your friend needs a break, there are facilities that will offer what are called respite stays, where you can bring mom, not permanently, but for a short period of time, usually to a furnished room in a facility, so that the caretaker has some time to rejuvenate and have, replenish sort of their energy.
So does she just Google respite? Because she's in New York City.
Well, she should really probably just look at some of the local assisted livings or nursing homes in the area, and then call them up and ask them if they have respite situations, and really then they would tell her what they are and how many weeks they do
and how much
it is. And it's really a good option. And sometimes actually some of our clients use respite to initiate the
Ease them in.
yes, to ease them into the transition of seeing what it's like in a facility.
Yeah,
And that
yeah.
works really well also.
Yeah, because we always explain to families, your mom and your dad can't really see
Right.
what it looks like from where they're sitting. So if you say, would you like to move to a nice facility, in their mind they have a different picture.
Yeah.
Okay, but they can't, from where they're sitting, really see a different way. And the respite care sometimes does open the door, and they go in there just temporarily, and then sometimes they like it.
Well, and they
And
see they're socialized, because a lot of
Right.
times if they're living home, they're only with the one person, with the one family member.
Right.
And here they're in a more of a socialized atmosphere. There's activities. So sometimes actually they thrive in.
Right, and
in-
if your
in a-
friend
in a
is
safe-
working, I mean,
Yeah, she does
So her mom may be home alone for long periods.
Well, she
or-
she can't leave her alone.
Okay.
She at this point, she has someone there
To-
with her.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think she stays in the house maybe 2 hours from the time that the other lady leaves and the time that my girlfriend gets home.
Right,
But then,
right.
my girlfriend doesn't have a break. So what are the typical questions that you get asked as attorneys?
Well, sometimes people ask us, when should we contact you?
Right.
At what point should we reach out? Mm-hmm. And the answer really is, there's always some planning that we could do at any age. I mean, my children are 20, 22, and
Right.
25, and they have powers of attorney. So obviously they're not seniors, but
Right.
there's planning that needed to be
Yep.
done, and they needed to appoint my husband and I as their agents, because after 18, you're legally emancipated.
Yes.
So that's one aspect. Again, then it depends. Then maybe you need to start thinking about maybe some tax planning, or some, you need your wills, or you need powers of attorney. And then when you end up having possibly a diagnosis, or somebody has an illness that's just been diagnosed, maybe you have that first fall or fracture, and then you have to go to rehab.
Right.
These are sort of indicators to have a conversation with an elder lawyer. The sooner you can speak to someone, the better, because the more time you have and the more money you have, the more options you have.
That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
and I would add that people ask, well, what's the optimum time for a senior? And one thing I ask is, are you finished with paying for college? And are you retired or close to retiring? Then, at that point in time, the shift, I think, occurs in terms of, how do you plan for long-term care so that you have enough to pay for your care, but if you don't plan, the government will not step in until all of your money is spent.
Right.
Yes.
And you have other things that you want to do with your money. You have
Exactly.
family members, you have grandkids, maybe you want to start setting aside money for college. A lot of families have children with special needs, adult children with special needs, so they need to set money aside for that, for them, so that there are a lot of different, there's the healthy spouse, ill spouse scenario. So without planning, the first spouse to get sick will spend most, if not all, of the money
That's what you worry
towards the
about.
first spouse
Wow.
care, leaving the second spouse with not much to live on. This is why I always say long-term care is a woman's worst nightmare, because the current generation,
More of the senior generation, the World War II
I'm
generation.
generalizing, but by and large, most marriages, the husband's older than the wife,
Right.
and women live longer than men.
Right.
So statistically, it's more
one thing
likely
going for us.
It's
Yeah.
more likely that the man will need the care, and without planning, they'll use up all of their the savings on the man.
Okay.
And then the wife could outlive the man. The wife could outlive him by 15, 20 years or more. And if there's not a lot to support her, and then she needs care, it could be a problem.
I mean, the government philosophy is that you spend down what you have, and then you go on needs-based benefits.
So what does that mean when you say spend down? I know what it means, but my viewers might not. What does that mean?
Well,
So
we'll explain, because he handles the Medicaid.
if we need to, the primary program that covers long-term care is the Medicaid program. There's some other programs, such as there's a VA program for veterans
That
and
we
such.
help people with, that brings in a pension.
But basically, the government wants to know that you didn't give your money away before you ask the government to pay for care.
Gotcha.
So the way they do that, it's not on the honor system. So what they will do, for example, is in the case of Medicaid, if I say, listen, I'm applying for Medicaid, I'm saying to the government, I've spent all my money. They're going to say to me, yeah, you got to prove it to us.
Let me see.
Yeah.
Let me see.
Let me see what you did.
So I have to produce 5 years of records.
5 years.
Yeah, they look back 5
Wasn't
years.
it 3 at one
It
point?
used to be 3,
Because when my
yeah.
parents,
That's good, Dr. Joy.
You know, the only reason why I know is because my parents had set it up, you know, at a certain point, and I'm an only child, so everything would flow to me. But they set it up way before, and they had to.
It was 3 years.
Yeah, it was 3 years because I remember
Your
them
parents
having to
did
talk
you a
to
huge
me.
favor.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially being an only child,
Yes.
because
Yes.
it falls on you,
Yeah, it
and you
does.
can't spread the wealth, so to speak.
Or
and,
burden.
you know.
The bird, right.
Yeah, and I didn't want to have that talk because then when you start to have those types of talks, they initiated it with me. And they said, no, we got to sit down and we got to talk to you. Well, I didn't want to have it because then you're thinking mortality.
Mortality, of course.
Right. But eventually, you know, they snatched me and said, you need to sit down. We need to have this talk, and this is what's going to happen.
Well, that was great that they were
Yeah.
actually proactive about it because
It is
we find that the
unusual.
children have to be the one that initiates the dialogue, and it really is a role reversal if you think about it.
Right.
Because for so many years your parents took care of you,
Right.
had a higher knowledge, so to speak, and
Right.
now you're reaching out to them to say, "Can you tell me about your finances? What do you
Yeah.
have?"
Well,
and
we
there's
know.
elements of protective confidentiality,
Yes.
and they don't want to share. But
Right.
it's the problem is when the problems come about, then the children have to be brought in,
Yeah.
and now they have to deal with it.
Right.
So it is not easy to initiate that dialogue.
So what you're saying is have the talk while they're healthy.
That's when you should have it.
That's when you should have it. That's the
Absolutely.
bottom line.
No, that is the bottom line.
So I know both of you educate the masses. How do you do it? I see you have books. So you want to talk about your book?
Sure, sure.
Lori told me in the green room that she does a lot of speaking engagements. So you can talk about that as well.
Yeah, we do a lot of community outreach. So we go to assisted livings. I just left a Jewish community center, and we really love to reach out and educate people because it's really learning what you don't know, but also, finding out information that is out there and deciphering how to apply it to yourself.
Right.
So I do a lot of that in terms of public community talks. And then we actually go out to hospitals and we give talks to social workers and case managers because they're really on the front line.
Right.
They're seeing patients that have that diagnosis or that first fall or fracture. And so it's really important to educate them about what options are so that they can have the dialogue when they are discharging to their clients. And we actually give continuing education to social workers and case managers. They need that for their to keep their license. And we also do continuing legal education and continuing medical education for lawyers and doctors.
So when do you guys get a break? When do you guys rest? That's a lot.
It is a lot.
That's
I did,
good.
and Yale wrote these books. So
And I do
we
a lot
co-authored this
I
one.
do some of the talks, but I do a lot of the writing as well. So
Wow. This one here, be nice to
The,
me. I pick your nursing home.
yes, that snarky-looking kid is our oldest son on the cover.
Yes.
And that's actually, I'm working on a second book, follow-up to that. I write articles, blog posts, once a week. Monday morning, they go out and they appear on our site. And what I do is a lot of the articles I've written are stories because that really illustrates, we learn best with stories.
Since we were
and-
little, that's what
Right.
they say.
And
Yeah.
so the stories of situations, nightmare situations, how we were able to help, how mistakes that somebody else made, that John Doe made, that people read that and they say, well, I don't want to be like John Doe
Right,
or
so I'm
Jane
gonna
Doe.
do this. That's right.
And so the book is actually a compilation of a lot of stories.
This
and,
one?
yes.
Yeah.
Be nice. And what about Don't Go Broke in a Nursing Home?
So that one we wrote, we co-authored with a financial advisor, and that one also has a lot of really good information in it. Lori and I wrote a few chapters, co-authored some of the chapters that are on the government benefit side. There's also an insurance piece in there of how does one qualify, or what products are out there, long-term care insurance products that are out
Options
there.
for people.
So
Different
many.
options.
It's a lot of moving parts.
So what if you don't have the money for an attorney, and you also mentioned financial advisor? What if you're getting to that
You
age?
want to say
and
your
you-
line? People say, how do you afford
Yeah.
to do something? And then Yale's line is, how do you afford not to? Because
Okay.
sometimes spending a little money protects a lot of money.
Oh yes.
It's really that kind of
Every
Right.
situation is a little bit different, but what we do is when we talk to folks, and we gather a lot of information, we have an intake coordinator in our office, and her job is just to gather the information that's necessary so we can have a conversation. And we want to usually try to get all the decision makers, all the family participants together
How
to
hard
have
is that?
We actually use a conference call line most of
yeah,
the time.
so
and it
with
works
technology,
really
it's a
well.
lot easier.
Yeah, it's a lot
Okay.
easier now.
All right.
And I will tell you that, people ask, well, what's the optimum amount of money? Every situation is different. Now, I will tell you that we've had situations where people have less amount of money, but it depends also on what kind of care do they need at that point when we're having that conversation. Sometimes there are things that we can do. Other times there aren't things that we can do right now, but we tell them, listen, there isn't any option for you right now, but when the situation progresses, meaning the health issues
Right.
progress and the care starts to climb, here are the things that you need to be aware of, and this is the optimum time when you should be calling us. And then on the flip side, we have folks that have a lot more money. Sometimes we can do things. Other times we say, you know what you have is great.
Right.
And just don't drop what you have, don't change what you have. It works, and
Keep
here's
it
the
steady.
reason.
Yeah.
And here's the reason why it works.
So with the current leadership we have, I call him 45, how does he have anything that he's put in place that's going to impact elder law, elder care?
So the answer is no.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the long-term care problem in this country, I call it a ticking time bomb.
Uh-oh.
Because the population just continues to age. And
People are living longer, and
Yeah.
they're running out of money.
And the government is running out of money. And Medicaid, which again is the primary government program, is not easy to qualify for. It has become harder and harder.
How
And
do you qualify?
Well, you have to spend down your assets. You have to get through that 5-year. I call it it's like a tax audit on steroids, because
So you spend down over those 5 years, or you spend down and then your 5 years start?
well, no, you spend down your money, so you essentially have to have no money to your name.
Right, and transfer
And
property
then
But
you-
they
out of your
look
name
back
too.
the 5 years
And
to see
then
what
you
you did
apply,
with your
and then
money.
they look
Yep.
back that 5-year window, and they're
Okay.
scrutinizing all your money going in and all your money going out.
It's like an audit.
Where did it go? And you can't tell them where it went. You have to show them by a paper trail where it went. And so that's the entire process. But here's what's happening, I think, on kind of a macro level, is that the government doesn't have the funds to pay for all this care. There are more people applying every year. And Congress and Washington is not addressing it, because there's always something else
That's
more
more
pressing.
pressing.
Yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
like the
Totally.
wall?
Yes.
Okay, we're not going
And
to go there, I know.
we're-
We're-
And that's
we
beyond
stay clear of
our
politics and don't talk.
our
Yeah, okay.
expertise.
But it's,
But it's going to come to a head at some point.
I mean, they talk about, Social Security being raised eventually
Right.
because it's 65, and, remember 65 when they initiated it, the life expectancy was much lower.
Yes, it was.
So now 65 is young.
Yeah, it's young.
The
We're
one
looking at it.
Yeah.
We were
the
looking
one
at it.
thing
right
that
there.
I will say is, people say, well, we didn't do anything hiding, we didn't move anything around, we're just going to spend everything down, and then the government's going to pay for our care. And my answer to that is, listen, the government's not your friend.
Right.
And they're not going to want to pay. And we see a lot of people who are well-meaning people who did what they thought everything was right. They didn't do anything wrong, but the government found a way to. They find a way to deny the benefits. They push you away. And here's the reason why. They're not stupid. They know that the people that are applying for benefits are in their 80s and their 90s.
And sick.
And if they can say, you know what, you have a what's called a penalty, a waiting period. Come back to us. They say to a 90-year-old,
A period of ineligibility.
you have a period of ineligibility. Come back in 6 months. Come back in 12 months. Well, they're not stupid. They know that a large percentage of those 90-year-olds are going to pass away before they ever
And they
get,
won't have to pay out.
and then the government doesn't have to pay a dime. So that's really what is happening.
And you're working against that. One of the comments that we always tell people is the government programs are the opposite of the criminal justice system. So the criminal justice system is you're innocent till proven
guilty.
and Medicaid works you're guilty till proven
innocent. So if you have, because we have to wrap up, one piece of advice for the viewers, what would it be? Okay, maybe two.
Well, I would say for me, it would be to be proactive versus reactive. In essence, think about what you will need before you need it. Don't wait for the crisis to happen. Have a dialogue, have a conversation, have a consultation.
When you're healthy.
While you're healthy.
Okay.
And but even if you're healthy, there's things that you still need. Powers of attorney, wills. It's just good to be educated, to know what you need.
Right. When you run out of money, you run out of options. So when you still have that nest egg, you can plan, you have a lot more options. And I'll add the second thing, is that even if you haven't planned, it is well worth a phone call to talk to somebody, because I can't promise that in every case that something can be done, but too many times, in a cocktail, conversation, somebody says to me, you know what? I spent, a lot of money, and I thought it was too late, and I should have called you. And
there's something that may have been able to be done.
And the answer is sometimes there's something that still can be done.
So
even if you're
on the eve
if your
of it.
loved one is in the nursing home or on the doorstep of the nursing home, it doesn't. It is well worth it. Doesn't cost anything to make a phone call and find out if there is something that can be done.
And to that point, my last question is, how can the viewers contact you?
So they can call our office, 973-994-2287. We do not charge for consultations, so we take out that barrier.
Okay, that's good.
We just begin with an initial phone call to our intake paralegal, and she takes down some preliminary information, gets background information, so that when they have a conversation with myself or Yale, we're able to hit the ground running with some legal advice.
Okay.
And then you can check our website, which is www.hauptmanlaw.com.
And where can the viewers get copies of your books?
So probably the easiest place would be go to our website, or you can check on Amazon as well.
And they can call our office.
And they can,
or they can call our office.
And your office number again?
973-994-2287.
And New York, New Jersey, anyone in New York and New Jersey can contact you.
Yes, we primarily practice in New Jersey, but we have some resources that we refer out for New York, because Medicaid is a federal program, but it's state.
It's administered on a state level.
Okay.
So we're more
in New Jersey, because we
than
know
New
the
York.
caseworkers and everything.
But we're licensed in both states.
We are licensed in both states, yeah.
Lori and Yale, thank you very much for sharing your expertise, your knowledge with my viewers, myself, on the Dr. Joy Show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Sure. Until next time, okay, you got to have that talk. That's the first thing. Do it now rather than later, sooner rather than later. Until next time, be blessed, stay healthy. See